Well, you know, the summer is officially here in the Orange County when the Sawdust Festival opens up, and it opens up tomorrow. And it's good to have our first artist on for the season, Karen Hedges. She is a painter. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Ken. Nice to meet you too.
I always ask folks that come on with the art festival. We know that it's not easy to get a booth there. How long have you been with the art festival? Is this your first year?
Well, I'm a returning artist.
There you go.
The first time that I was in the Sawdust was 2001. So it's been 14 years, and over the 14 years, I've been in the Sawdust 6 times, so 6 summers.
Okay.
And most of that is because I was working full-time for the Walt Disney Company.
Really?
During that time, so I just retired 2 years ago. Now I can go full-on with my painting.
Very good. What'd you do for Disney?
I was their director of horticulture for West Coast.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that is really cool. I mean, you know, Disney landscape, you don't get any better than that.
It was a lot of fun.
Well,
Thanks.
speaking of landscapes, that's what you paint, at least the paintings that you brought today. I'm going to hold the first one up.
Okay.
And it is oil painting, right?
Yes, I paint in oils. I do a lot of landscape paintings, as you mentioned. I paint in the Impressionist style, and I describe Impressionist style as putting down on canvas what you first glimpsed at and caught your attention, what really drew you into the scene. So for this scene, I did in Owens Valley, and I also paint in plein air, which means I paint outside on location. Usually this size painting, which you're holding up, is a 9 by 12. The biggest painting I'll do outside is 11 by 16, because you're kind of racing with the sun. You've got 2
Yes.
hours to do it. So because as the shadows move, you can't chase the shadows.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
I can imagine that, especially on days that I have heard that, you know, you get the fog out there, it gives you a lot of nice flat light.
Yes.
But all of a sudden you could have streaming sunlight coming in,
Right.
and that could change.
Right.
Here's the other one here.
Okay, this one is the Laguna Beach coast. You can't really see the Hotel Laguna because I'm back a little bit towards Divers Cove. You can
Okay.
see Monument Point with the American flag there flying. And this one actually I took from several studies that I did on location, smaller ones like the one that you showed before. And then I went back to my studio, and from my studies that I did on location, I did a larger one because it's pretty difficult to do one this size outside in just 2 hours.
Yeah.
So there's different ways you can do plein air.
Yeah, I would think so. Does it get a little complicated when you're outside with the paints themselves? And, you know, if the little breeze is blowing, something like that?
It does. With oils, you're okay because they dry slowly.
Right, oils do.
Yeah, they do. But also, if something is flying around like a bug, it'll stick to the oil, and you've got wind, so you might have sand or dust. And usually what you do is you don't worry about that. When they dry, you can just dust it off, and all those little critters will just roll off. But
or you just smash the bug up and you get that color from the bug, you know, right? Paints are made, oil paints used to, I don't know if they still are, made from certain kinds of little creatures,
they
right?
used to be. I'm not sure if they still are, or maybe a little bug could turn into a seagull, bird.
There you go. You mentioned you've been on and off with the Sawdust. I know it's, do they still use a lottery program to get into a booth, and how many times you've been there you get extra numbers? Or,
yes.
Is that true?
Yes, it's true.
Okay.
You do have to be a Laguna Beach resident. That's one of the requirements for at least applying. And those that have been in 5 years or longer will have their name in the lottery bin more times.
Okay.
So you have to be 5 consecutive years, where I've been in 6 years, but not consecutively. So I've got one Karen Hedges name spinning around in there. So I'm lucky if I get a booth, because there's a couple hundred people that are vying to get a booth, whether it's painters, sculptors, jewelers, glass blowers. There's you know, many different variations of art there.
Yeah, there is, and we're going to talk about giving away a couple tickets.
Fantastic.
So I want to mention this before I forget. We have 2 tickets for the Sawdust Festival. It's although it says preview night on it, the preview night was a couple days ago. It's really good throughout the season, and I'm going to give you a number to call. Now, there it is on the screen, 597-4295. Remember, we are showing, we're live in the morning, and then we replay the program at 12:30 and 5. So if you're watching it later, these might have already been gone, but give it a try. 597-4295, that's Stephanie that you'll call, and you get a couple tickets there, and it's a lot of fun to go. Your booth is 103. Where is that in relationship to the opening?
Well, when you first walk in, I was either the second to the last or last person to get a booth, and I was very fortunate because when you first walk in, I'm the third one on the left, down the main aisle. So I was really pleased. I'm very happy.
That is good.
Yeah, it was really good. And about the Sawdust, it's open, I don't know if you mentioned, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily.
Yes. Yeah.
And
are you there the whole time? How
no,
does that
I'm
work
not there
for
the
you?
entire time. People can come and if they want to purchase something, they can take it to the sales booth if the artist isn't present.
Okay.
That's done quite a bit.
All right, so you have things hanging up there.
Yes.
Someone can just take.
They can take it, or they can go to the sales booth if they're uncomfortable actually removing it, and someone will go over there and take
That's
down
good.
what
Yeah,
they
I
want.
think I would be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I could just imagine everything falls down. Do you strictly stick with landscapes, or you do other things as well?
I do other things.
Okay.
I really enjoy doing still life. It's something that I've been having a lot of fun with. Because you can be very impressionistic with still life.
Yes, you can.
And so probably 2/3 of my work hanging in the booth right now are still life. Sometimes I even do some figurative work. I've got a big piece in there that's a boy and a horse. And so I'm trying to venture out and not do just landscapes.
Okay. And when you were telling me that you worked with the Disney horticulture department.
Yes.
How far back does that go in relationship to your painting? Have you been painting for years? Because obviously the two can kind of go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
When you see the landscapes. Here.
Yes, they do, and that is probably one of the biggest pushes that for me that drove me was I've always loved landscape. I mean, both of my grandmothers were gardeners, and I, as a child, gardened with them. And then going through school, I decided to pick horticulture as my major. Graduated from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and got my degree there. And worked for several firms, then ended up at Disneyland. And the more I got to know landscape and plants and the design of them, the composition, because you're always looking at them, theming, especially for Disney storytelling for them. You would sketch. The sketching turned into drawing. Drawing turned into painting because I love color.
Yeah.
Value does all the work. And color gets all the glory. That somebody else has said that, but I coin that often because it's so true. We're attracted to color. So the horticulture and the landscape painting definitely evolved. I mean, I think one grew out of the other.
I like how you mentioned value, because I used to take a lot of art. Explain what that means to a lot of people who don't understand that. When they hear color, they just hear color.
Yes.
They don't really hear hue and value.
Yes.
But value is, I know how it was explained to me, but I want to hear.
Okay, I'll explain it as I interpret it. Because everybody has a different description for everything. So you could look at, look online and get a different description. But value is more or less the intensity of, I'll say, light, without worrying about the color.
Right.
Not necessarily. So if you look at a value, many times it's on a chart, a 1 through 10 chart. It could be 1 through 8. There's different charts, but 1 through 10 is a very good basic chart. 1 being white, 10 being black. Some charts will flip the two. So going from a gradation of white to black, 1 through 10, those are the variations of values that are very easy for the human eye to detect. So even if you were just using black and white, or maybe like a sienna or something with white, you could paint a very compelling painting or drawing just by using light and dark.
Right.
That's really what our eye is looking at. And then to make it a lot more exciting is to then add the color. And of course, adding the color, you could use the complements to kind of play from your retinas, as Dr. Ovanesian was saying earlier. So hue is the intensity of the color. Value is more or less the shade, light and dark.
Exactly. And I remember when I was in taking art, the instructor said, here's what I want you to do to really understand what I'm saying. Squint your eyes a little bit.
Yeah.
So you kind of block out the real color.
Yes.
And you'll see the values. Let's say it's all pastels or something,
yes.
and they almost kind of blend together.
Yeah, right.
But if there's that hot pink next to the pastel, it's going to just pop out at you.
Yes.
And that's how you play with light and color.
Absolutely, good
Yeah.
point. And that's what I do a lot when I'm out there in plein air. The Impressionists the same way. You squint. You really want to see that in, not a blur, but kind of boil it down to what is really important so that you can pick your focal point and know where it is before you start painting. You want to know a couple things before you start putting that that oil onto your canvas. You can always paint over it, but it's a lot easier. You can keep
I
going.
remember in the art school doing all those little color charts and things over and over again. Well, Karen is at booth 103, as she said, at the Sawdust, which opens tomorrow. It's 10 to 10 daily. It goes all the way through August 30th, and it is a lot of fun down there. Great to go in the evening. That's really my favorite time. They start having little bands there, and you can get some food and walk around. And if you want, you can leave. And I don't know if they stamp your hand or what it is, but then you can come back.
Yes.
So if you want to go out and get dinner somewhere and come back, you certainly can. Again, 2 tickets if you want these. If nobody, maybe somebody's already called, but if you get a chance for this, 597-4295. And you're going to have a lot of fun. You really are. It's great down there. Karen, thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.
All right,
Enjoyed
we
it.
will be right back. Yep.